So that right there is a psychological operation. And because we're reading about Sigmund Freud, they diagnose you. When they don't want you to look into something, they diagnose you. So right there, he's going, oh my, are they just doing this to create content? Are these people akin to drug addicts? They're just high on the conspiracy theory. They're gaslighting you, and then they're diagnosing you.
Candace Owens responds to all the suspicion surrounding Mike McCoy, Charlie Kirk's chief of staff, who did this. As soon as Charlie got shot, he didn't check to make sure Charlie was okay. He didn't try to stop the bleeding. He didn't make sure there was an ambulance. He didn't make sure he got to the ambulance. He didn't make sure that he got to a hospital that was the closest one because they took him to a far hospital. He didn't do anything. I'm going to show you what he did. The bullet rings out. He immediately, before a second, he turns around, puts a phone to his head, and calmly walks away and keeps walking. I'll show you. Here it is. I'll show you.
Right-hand guy.
There's Ian.
And he
Carroll
was at
telling
Charlie's
you.
right hand all day long.
So there he is. He gets shot. There he is. He turns around. He hasn't even fallen yet. Charlie Kirk hadn't even fallen off his chair yet. His chief of staff had already turned around, put the phone to his head, and started calmly walking away. He wasn't running. He didn't duck. He started calmly walking away. And I'll show you who he was. And here he comes right here. There he is, walking away with the phone to his ear, calmly walks away. Everybody else is running and screaming. He's not. He's very calmly walking. And he did it even a second hadn't gone by. He turned around and started walking away. And he kept walking away. And in fact, to the point where here they are putting Charlie Kirk's body into an SUV. Here is Mikey, the chief of staff, still walking away. Now, I also showed you that his father lied. Mikey McCoy's father, a pastor, lied and said Mikey was covered in blood. He also said he called him first, and then but we don't know he called Erica anyway. So
Jimmy, where's the other guy? Where's Baldy Beardy who saw his quivering lip while he was out there in the distance talking to Erica?
Look how far away he is from what's happening, and that
guy said he'll never forget seeing his lip quiver.
That's right. So here is Candace Owens' response to this garbage that they're saying. Watch this. So here's their stupid excuse, and Candace is going to debunk it.
Here's the last thing I want to make a point of. And because Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. Said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erica.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And he drilled that into Mikey's brain so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew how to do it. And by the way, last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I. This is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away.
So we're supposed to believe he wasn't talking to someone on the phone. Because the bullet sound was so loud, he wanted to put his fingers in his ears. No one else on video did that. Nobody else did that. And then he kept keeping his fingers in his ears even after he was got to be 50 yards away. He still is doing that? Okay. Here's Candace will do it.
And he's
not even walking. I want to, because people are talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area with grates, so you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot. And so there's a little narrow gap that I think people, it's not really walking. It's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point to get out of the area.
Okay. Elsewhere, they say that, so basically he was on the phone, he was holding his ears, okay? And then once he got out into the distance beyond the car that Charlie would be carried into is when he called Erica first and then his father. That's what they tell us. Now, in regards to him saying that Mikey was taking social videos, I can tell you it tracks that Mikey would be taking videos behind, like, when Charlie first comes out of the event, he's throwing hats. That tracks. That absolutely is a thing at Turning Point USA. You follow the person to get behind the scenes. I would have Savannah do this before Mikey McCoy did this. It was Sarah Schmachtenberger. And they do that. They like the behind the scenes reactions. But in this particular video, he's not standing where you can get a view of Charlie asking a question. So this part is not tracking. Okay, Mikey is not standing to the side of Charlie. He is behind. And so if you're saying earlier, we're supposed to see him, the best place to stand if you're going to get a video of Charlie asking a question is going to be in a place where you can see both Charlie and the person asking the question. And that's just not where he's standing. So that excuse doesn't make sense to me. Now, maybe he's saying he was and Mikey was there when he was throwing hats out, and he was there trying to send videos thereafter once things got started. That's all possible. I don't know. Regarding him putting his hands up to his ear, it does sound completely plausible to me that if you first hear a gunshot, you're going to naturally do this.
Even though nobody else did that. He's the only guy who did it.
Right? That kind of makes sense. You're going to go, what was that maybe? And then I think typically you'd get down. And the issue that I have is I never see him take that phone down.
And nobody else is doing that. Nobody else in any of the videos is doing this. Nobody. And he's still doing it. He's still doing it. Okay.
Maybe he does, right? Maybe he does. We don't know for a fact. And so we should be clear that it doesn't look to me like he's just covering his ears there.
No,
but maybe
he's not.
What I will say is that it would be unlikely that you would keep holding your ears until you get all the way out.
Yes.
And that you wouldn't duck down. And regarding, Charlie always told us to call Erica if anything happens. Yeah, that's kind of common sense. That's not exactly like, hey, if I get shot in the throat, don't help me and call Erica. I think obviously that's called like first of kin, right? First of kin. If something happens to me, call George. Something happens to George, call Candace. That is almost in the sphere of common sense. So I believe that. I don't believe that Charlie said, if I get shot, don't help me, calmly walk away and call Erica first. Like, I think, I don't know. Like I said, we have nothing to go off of. I think it's curious that we're hearing this from Andrew and we're not hearing it from Mikey McCoy. It's very easy to dispel any internet innuendo. You don't actually have to jump into ad hominem attacks. The first thing I would have done, just like I did when I was being accused of colluding on the Blake Lively story, when I got drafted into that lawsuit and they thought that I was working with Blake Lively's, working with Justin Baldoni's team, is I quite literally live subpoenaed myself. Held to my phone, I typed in Blake Lively, and I showed you the only 2 times that I had ever texted about her in my phone at all to demonstrate that there was no collusion happening and no one compelled me to speak. It was a ridiculous thing for her to say. I laughed at it. I wasn't upset about it, right? And I said, this is crazy. Here is my phone. I'm live opening it for you.
And so why wouldn't they bring Mikey McCoy on that show, Charlie Kirk show, to show his phone and say, no, this is who I was talking to. This is what happened exactly. Why wouldn't they? Not only did they not do that, they didn't even bring on Mikey McCoy to answer any of these questions. They bring on another liar. And that, what is his name? Colvett? Mm-hmm. And and so now they're another proven liar because he's the one
his dad say he was on the phone with him.
His dad said he was on the phone with him, and his dad said he was covered in blood. He wasn't. No,
so they don't address that.
They don't address that. They don't address that at all. And they pretend that he's just walking around with his hands trying to plug his ear because he's afraid there's going to be another gunshot he doesn't want to hear, but he's not ducked down and he's not worried about getting shot. He's standing completely erect, walking calmly and slowly with his phone to his ear. Okay. Almost like he was on the phone the whole time with someone.
Why not do that? Doesn't that seem easier? The easier thing, if you feel that pressure, is to just say, I'm going to dispel this. It's kind of like the Brigitte Macron thing. Hey, here's a couple of pictures of me raising my kids. 30 years was missing because I really was just camera shy. I'm just going to show you the pictures. It's so much easier rather than fighting a tit for tat war to just share the truth. People are uncomfortable. It's going to get even more interesting, though, because Alex Marlow, who runs Breitbart News, was their guest for the day on the show.
Watch
and
this.
He then kind of shifts gears and pretends like we're all drug addicts.
This is where it gets really bizarre. Watch this. This is where I get my Seth Rich Spidey senses come alive. Watch this. Remember if you asked a question about Seth Rich, they said you were hurting their family. How dare you, crazy nut conspiracy theorist? They put me in an article in Washington Post with pedophiles and Nazis because I was asking legitimate questions about an unsolved murder. They still don't know who killed Seth Rich. Still, but you're not allowed to ask questions of it. They're doing the exact same thing right here. Watch this. But worse. So now they're how they slandered everybody who had legitimate questions about Seth Rich. Now they're trying to slander everybody who has a legitimate question about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Watch this.
Right. We're just high on conspiracy theory.
Watch
Take a listen.
this.
There's a suggestion online that Mikey, Charlie's chief of staff, one of the most sincere people you'd ever meet, brilliant, Christian, kind, everyone he ever met in his entire life, couldn't hurt a fly, was part of a conspiracy to murder Charlie. That's what's going on.
Yeah. It's vile. It's utterly vile.
Who would do this? What type of individual? Just to create content, do we think? Or is there some,
It's vile for anyone to question the official narrative, even though there are a million holes in it, contradictions, and they're known liars. Just like Seth Rich, the same FBI that lied to you about Seth Rich and said they didn't have his laptop, and then it was proven they had it. Then they said they couldn't get the information from his laptop, even though then it was proven that they did have that information. And then when a judge ordered them to release the contents that they had found on his laptop, they said, we're not going to release it for 65 years, and they still have not released it.
It's vile of you to bring that up.
It's vile. So that's the same FBI who did all that with Seth Rich. Now they're doing it with Charlie Kirk, and this guy says it's vile if you have legitimate questions.
Yes. Shut up, Jimmy.
Which is exactly what they did with Seth Rich. Okay, here we go.
I don't know. I think a lot of this mindset just sort of fuels itself. It's sort of addictive in the same way a lot of social media stuff is addictive, or in the way like honestly something like pornography is addictive or something. Like they get really they almost get they get a high off of like the idea of like that they're doing something that's daring or out there.
So that right there is a psychological operation. And because we're reading about Sigmund Freud, they diagnose you. When they don't want you to look into something, they diagnose you. So right there, he's going, oh my, are they just doing this to create content? Are these people akin to drug addicts? They're just high on the conspiracy theory. They're gaslighting you, and then they're diagnosing you. So we all just watched Charlie die. We are having a perfectly rational response to watching that, and then watching the strange reaction of his peers, or the non-reaction of his peers who just want our money, right? And are asking for Susie Wiles. It's the craziest part of his whole thing for me. It was like, why Susie Wiles? I don't know, it just feels really weird, like a weird pick for her to eulogize him. But yeah, and not maybe his parents, maybe they didn't want to. Actually, they were quite private people. But all this happens, and we're having a natural reaction, which is we feel alarmed, we feel suspicious, and they're going, oh, you're a drug addict. You know what? I get it. You kind of like porn. You're into that. You're into the porn thing. I get it. No, I get it. If you want to watch porn all day, you want to watch porn all day. That, my friends, is a psychological operation. Steel yourselves against this. Yes, we are asking questions. No, we are not akin to people that watch pornography all day. And no, we're not getting high on it. We're going to get high when we find out what actually happened. That's going to feel like a high to us, right? That's going to be that natural rush that we feel when we've actually solved what happened to Charlie Kirk. So let me answer you back on that, Alex Marlow. Be careful, because it might do your genealogy. You don't want me doing that. Careful. Then we have Frank Turek, who engaged.
So she just called the guys from Talking Point USA. She called them gaslighters, which is another term for liars. And it's even worse because they're trying to get you to believe something false. So they're gaslighters, and they're doing a psyop on you.
Toilet paper USA, Jimmy.
Candace Owens just officially said the guys from TPUSA are doing a psyop on you, and they're lying to you. So that's what they're doing. And you should watch all our other videos about Mikey McCoy and I just did another video about TPUSA's response to Mikey McCoy theories, his bizarre behavior, which also makes zero sense. His father lied, said he was covered in blood. They lied and said that he was there directing. He was making sure that Charlie Kirk got into the SUV. They were making sure he got to the hospital. He didn't do any of that stuff. Mikey McCoy didn't do anything.
General McCoy, we need you.
Before Charlie Kirk even fell off his chair, Mikey McCoy had already left the scene. Before his body even hit the ground and fell off the chair, Mikey McCoy, chief of staff, was already exited the scene. He was gone. Literally 800 milliseconds from the gunshot to him leaving. Not even a second. He didn't go, whoa, what happened? He didn't duck. He didn't get scared. He put the phone to his ear and walked away calmly, and he didn't stop. And then they said he did. Oh, no, he came back and made sure he got in the SUV. I showed you. Here he is in the SUV. Here's him still walking away. But this guy says, no. He turned around and he called Erica Kirk. He called his father. And then he went back and made sure that Charlie was in the SUV and that he was on his way. He's nowhere freaking near him. In fact, not only that, but Mikey McCoy has no legitimate way of knowing what actually even happened. He didn't even see Charlie Kirk fall. He didn't even see Charlie Kirk fall off his chair. That's how fast he spun around. Before Charlie Kirk fell off his chair, Mikey McCoy was already turned around, was already on his way out with a phone to his ear. The only guy trying to shield his ears, by the way. And Candace Owens says, you're watching a psyop. These guys are pulling a psyop on you, and they're gaslighters because they are. The guy from, and if you believe what the people from Talking Point US or Turning Point USA are saying, you are a chump. You are a chump. You are a victim of a psyop. And you're a willing victim. Because there's some people who legitimately believe that somehow his neck stopped a 30-06 bullet. There's no way that happened. No way that happened. But
Cash Patel lie.
You have to believe all these crazy things happened. You have to believe all these crazy things happened for you to believe the establishment. And then he did that stupid text to his lover, which it obviously that was not true because they stopped pushing that because everyone called it out. Where he laid out every step of the way where he assassinated Charlie Kirk and then texted it to his boyfriend. That didn't happen. There are so many crazy things that you have to believe in order to believe Cash Patel and the establishment and what the guy from Turning Point USA are saying. That there's just no way. There isn't a pretzel twisted enough to make yourself believe this. You can't twist yourself into a big of a pretzel to believe any of this.
I just want to prove my loyalty to Trump, Jimmy, and to MAGA and to Israel.
Yeah.
I want to prove my loyalty by believing whatever.
That is exactly what this is.
Just like with COVID, that was the nice Democrat one. They're really all on the same team. Can't tell these guys apart from Pod Save America.
No,
except I don't think Pod Save America directly covered up a murder.
But
it's the same nondescript white guys, probably in some creep ass organization their whole life, just like the kid they're stitching up for the murder. It's so obviously fake. I know people that they just don't want to think about it, I guess.
Just like the Democrats didn't want to think about COVID and they dismissed every obvious lie from Fauci, Dr. Collins, and the establishment media. Just even they still called ivermectin horse paste, even though it's on the WHO list of essential medicines. And it won a Nobel Prize for human medicine. They still said Joe Rogan was taking horse paste. So, and they still to this day, those Democrats don't have any curiosity about why would the establishment media lie about that? Oh, because Big Pharma told them to, because they didn't want anybody to think they could take an early treatment for COVID, and they wanted them to take it's the same thing they're doing here. So now and again, most MAGA don't believe this because most MAGA knows how a 30-06 works. Most MAGA knows.
What a stupid thing you're trying to put over on people.
They know you can't assemble, disassemble, change your clothes, assemble the gun again, hide it in a towel, jump off a 2-story building. They know this. They know this. So most of MAGA sees through this. But it's only the ones like Megyn Kelly and these guys from Turning Points USA who want to believe this, because if they don't, they have to call out Israel. They have to call out Trump. They have to call out the FBI. They have to call out Turning Points USA. They have to call out his security team. And they don't want to get messed up in that. They'd rather have a fun, nice career. And that's why Megyn Kelly is pretending to believe this. And anybody else who believes this is a victim of a psyop on purpose, just like the Democrats were victim of the COVID psyop on purpose. Because it fits your agenda. I got to believe the establishment story, because if I don't, then I got to turn on Trump, I got to turn on Cash Patel, and I got to turn on Israel, and I got to turn on Turning Point USA. And I don't want to do that. I want to be a good boy. Okay.
For what friends would you want to have that you have to, you lose them for telling the truth about a murder?
Charlie really drilled it into our head that as soon as he gets shot in the neck, turn around and walk away. He drilled it into our head.
Or your dad, whichever you have listed under that
or your dad,
contact.
or this, or that. But whatever you do, don't try to help.
He told his one redheaded friend to stand on the chair where he got shot and take a selfie and say Charlie shot. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Standing on the chair that Charlie saw go, he was shot.
And
nothing weird about that.
And they said immediately take, and did Charlie Kirk also say immediately take the camera, the SD cards of the camera from behind me? Did he also say that?
Because evil people could use it to solve the murder.
So the guy who grabbed the SD cards of the video from behind Charlie Kirk lied and said he was told to by the cops. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Yeah, that's what cops say to do.
That's not what the cops said to do. Nobody told. So they're TPUSA are confirmed liars in every way possible about this. And to the point where they won't even bring the guy on, Mikey McCoy, to answer why wouldn't you bring on Mikey McCoy? Why would you bring out a guy who was also there?
The security team couldn't get the keys to the roof because the security guards had them and wouldn't give them. And as you know, a crack security team, the first thing they do is go, we're not allowed to go on the roof and look for.
His security, we're being told his security team, they wouldn't give him the keys to the access to the roof. This is all lies.
That's a pastor told me that. Are you saying he's a liar?
Hey. Okay, if you want to come see my jokes about Kash Patel's handling of this, come see me in Australia. We have added second shows to all our shows. We're going to be in Burbank, California the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. That's November 28th. And in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th, and Waikiki coming up on January 11th. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. Hey, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet. It's completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. Yes, do things, not just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you and literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you. It can make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. Let me show you how it works. Let's say I want to find out, I want to buy a baseball bat. Let's say I want to buy a baseball bat. And, hey, find me the five of the highest rated baseball bats under $100. So that's what I asked my web browser to do. There it does. It finds it immediately. There it is. It's a Marucci K-Tex Vanta baseball bat for $89. So now I ask it, hey, could you find this on a website and put it in my cart? There it goes. It's going to do it. Watch this. Boom. There it is. It's $89. It's high rated, and it's in my cart. And the web browser did all that. Pretty cool, right? So download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to pplx.ai/Dore and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/Dore. Go now and take your time back online. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.